this is where we are. Our first leg will take us from Florida to Bermuda, which I reckon will be around a week, a little under a week. The second leg, which is the longest stretch, is from Bermuda to Azores, Portugal, and then from Portugal we'll be going to Lisbon, and then we'll make our way to the Mediterranean, all the way to the eastern Mediterranean.
The Bering 92 Papillon has just completed a historic transatlantic crossing. Join us as we delve into the raw data, the fuel burned, the storms weathered, and the challenges overcome. Let's count a budget of crossing, from the moment she sliced through the roaring 40s to the moment she glided into the Mediterranean.
I think topic number one, to me at least, is the weather. And it was kind of unusual time for crossing.
Yes.
You crossed quite late for the crossing season. And can you just describe a little bit of general pattern of Atlantic crossing, and then your particular crossing, like what you encounter, what you did, as far as how weather influenced you during this crossing?
Sure. So in order to understand the North Atlantic crossing patterns, let's put it that way, we have to understand the pressure system characteristics of the North Atlantic. In particular, a high pressure center that they call Azores High, or the North Atlantic High. Now, it is actually a stationary, or almost stationary, high pressure system located in the Northern Atlantic, and because it's in the Northern Hemisphere, it rotates clockwise, right? Mm-hmm. So if you are crossing eastbound, like we did, you need to climb up, take the winds from the stern behind you, and use those winds to cross. This is the traditional method for sailboats, of course. Mm-hmm. If you're crossing westbound, you're more south and take those winds. What we ended up doing, actually, we crossed through the high pressure, horse latitudes, as they are called in the traditional
horse
terms.
latitudes.
Horse latitudes. Yes. The reason why they are called horse latitudes is because you're crossing through the high pressure. The winds die, and back in the day, sailboats used to get stuck there, and they would slaughter the horse on board just not to starve to death. You know.
Interesting.
Therefore, the name horse latitudes. Now, that was, of course, a conscious decision on my part, which I can get to later. Now, in the Caribbean, as you know, there are hurricane seasons, and it usually starts in June and lasts until November, so to say. The typical time to cross eastbound is preferably April, May. However, we were late due to a couple reasons, and we ended up starting our crossing in June. It's not so bad, but right after we left, a tropical storm formed in the Gulf of Mexico and actually made its way to Florida, and we would have felt it. And the first leg also wasn't that comfortable too. I had to deviate from my route in order to run from another low pressure, just to make the passage a little more comfortable and less risky, of course. But it's still not that terrible as far as crossing times go. And the majority of the crossing was just perfect.
Yeah, I think after Bermudas you had
exactly
absolutely
perfect
same like it is now, I guess.
Exactly. So. And because we crossed through the high pressure system, that is, the horse latitude, so to say, it was mostly not windy at all. Yeah. Very, very comfortable.
So, but it was pretty rough on the way to Bermuda.
Yes, it was
What
pretty
kind
rough.
of waves?
Around, I think, 3 to 4 meter long waves, time to time. It was.
High.
High, yes.
3 to 4 high.
3 to 4 meter high. It was high, and my initial plan, of course, was to take the shortest route to Bermuda as much as I could. However, we ended up doing north for the first, I think, 3 to 4 days. We climbed up north, exceeded Bermuda, and then we started coming
so you started
south.
from like above the Carolinas somewhere.
Almost, yeah. Like we went up to 33rd north, I think.
In South Carolina.
Yeah. And then made our way slightly down to Bermuda. But I have to say, the Gulf Stream, the Gulf Stream, it's a stream along the coast of Florida, which has been killing me because if you're crossing the Gulf Stream towards the States or vice versa, it always pushes you off the course and you have to calculate your route. For a change, it was nice to ride it.
Yeah, you probably gain 2.5, 3 knots.
Exactly, 3, sometimes 3.5.
Yeah.
It's like a highway of the ocean.
Definitely.
Yeah. Hey everyone, it is day 4, 7 p.m. local time. We have 2 more days left till we reach Bermuda, end of our first leg. The winds have picked up. It is now blowing around 30 knots. The seas have also picked up naturally. 10 feet easy, I'd say. The ride has become a little bumpy, but it's not too bad. Not very uncomfortable, I have to say.
So how has the currents affected you besides the Gulf Stream? Because you said it's, I was not aware that you have a current in the middle of the ocean, distinctive currents. And so how is it, weather is one thing, currents is another thing.
Yes. So the latitudes that we did the crossing are also called variables. They're called variables because you get a variety of directions of winds. Now, unlike the Gulf Stream, the currents that you have in the middle of the ocean are surface currents.
So they're weather pattern.
Exactly. And because there were different winds blowing north and south of us, they create every day a different form of current that affects us.
What speed of current did you experience?
The worst we experienced, I think, was around 2 knots. It's not so bad, but because it
when you have a 8-9 knot speed, you feel it.
True, you feel it. It pushes you. So, for example, the wind that we're experiencing at that location is the same throughout the day. But in the morning, we're pushed 5 degrees north, and in the afternoon, we're pushed 5 degrees south.
Wow.
It's like a...
And you cannot predict it, really.
No. You just have to be on top of it.
So you have to definitely provision for some reserve of fuel because of this thing. Some of the currents known, like Gulf Stream, sometimes it's helping you, but some currents you cannot predict.
Exactly. So we have a slight problem. The chain windlass on the windlass has loosened a little. So with every movement of the bow, I can hear the anchor kind of banging against the hull. So me and Chris are going to go up on the bow and fix it, secure it. We are gearing up at the moment. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn the boat downwind to allow for some safety on the bow. And we're gonna go and fix it.
Here we comes to another topic, like how capable this boat as far as the crossing, like is it adequate to the task? Would you feel like the boat setup and boat function? How do you feel on the crossing? Did you miss something? Did you feel like, oh, I wish we had this or that or something else? How is the boat fit for the crossing?
And the range, of course, the range gives you a peace of mind, because I knew if something went wrong, you know, if I had to deviate from my course further, if I had to make land in an, you know, on some port that I didn't intend to, I know I have the fuel, I know I have the range and the durable machinery to get me there. So, you know, it was not a concern at all. And comfort, as far as comforts go, we were able to cook three meals a day. We were able to,
at all sea conditions,
all
like
sea
without
conditions.
interruption.
Yeah. I'm talking about the first leg now. The other two legs were like vacation.
Like this.
Yes, like this, exactly. We were able to cook, we were able to eat. I was able to drink my coffee, which is very important. Yeah, I mean, life wasn't really interrupted at all. It was very comfortable, I'd say.
So comfortable and you feel safe.
Yes.
So and anything happen like on the way, because safety, yes, it's how you feel mostly. It's really a lot of, we perceive, I think, safety not with just numbers. We perceive it with feelings.
Yeah.
You're feeling safe or you don't feeling safe. You know, like it's in the city, in the neighborhood, in the situation on the boat as well.
Yeah.
But is anything happened during? I mean, it's quite a crossing. It's like it will be probably 4,000 miles when we get to Alicante. Over 4,000 miles. Any failures, any emergencies, anything of this nature?
No, nothing major that comes to my mind immediately. Let me briefly think about it. Actually, no. The only emergency I would say was the replacement of the starter batteries, which is not an emergency. I mean, after some point, they die down. You need to replace. That was one thing that slipped maybe through.
We replaced it yesterday. Basically, it was the only repair.
The only repair, I would say. However, there is of course a reason to it. Now, maybe we can divide it into two contributing factors. One, the design and the quality of the boat, of course. The systems that are in place, because they're built to last, they're durable, and they are built so that you can rely on them. And the second contributing factor, I have to emphasize this, as much as the design, is of course the preparation. Now, we spent a good amount of time before actually starting the crossing, and we serviced everything. And I'm now not only talking about the periodic services that you, of course, all the time do, but going into detail, looking at places and systems that you maybe wouldn't look at necessarily if this crossing was a shorter one, and making sure that everything is working properly and in order. And of course, coming up with drills, coming up with emergency plans, practicing it with the crew, accumulating enough spare parts and tools just in case something goes wrong and you have the means to take. Because in the middle of the ocean, there's no one coming.
Rely only on yourself.
Exactly.
So let's speak about fuel. How much we spend, what affected the spending, like what is average per crossing, what is average per leg. We had 3 legs, as I understand.
Yes, well, Before I give you the exact figures, it's good to point out that the crossing that we did kind of took place a little late, as we spoke on the other video, and therefore some of the departures were not exactly perfectly timed, and we did therefore encounter some weathers, which of course affected our fuel consumption significantly. In total, though, in spite of all those weathers and difficulties, so to say, we burned in 26,200 liters in total, and it's around 6,900 gallons, so to say. This is the combined consumption.
For
that
3
we have.
legs?
For 3 legs, for the entire crossing, and for engines and generators, so everything we burned.
I know you were struggling some storm and deviation from the course. What difference in consumption between the good weather leg and bad weather leg?
Sure. Actually, it's quite significant. To better compare it, we can compare the first leg, that is from Miami to Bermuda, and then the second leg, Bermuda to Azores, right?
Yeah.
We encountered serious winds on the first leg, and our hourly consumption was actually 70 liters per hour, which translates to 18.5 gallons. And if you do
average speed around 8.
a little short of 8, actually. We were pushing, but we were making 7.5 knots in average. This is the average of the entire crossing. So yeah, we were revving the engines up. We had to, because we were kind of running away.
Yeah.
And waves were against us, winds were against us. But in spite of all that, I think it is still quite
It's still pretty good, but how it compares to the second leg?
The second leg, we burned, we were actually a little faster, and we burned 40 liters per hour, almost half. Almost half.
That's a huge difference.
It is a huge difference. It is a huge difference.
4 people, light load, fair weather, not hot, not cold. What was your electricity consumption? What your average, what your spikes, what your lows, like anything you can say about electricity?
It was actually, again, pretty low. Our general usage was around 13 kW, 13 to 14 kW, and it spikes up to, actually we are on spike right now because the chef is cooking. It's 17 kilowatts or something, 17 to 18 kilowatts.
And we have AC running.
We have AC running. We have
Not heavily, but yeah, because
AC,
it's
water heater, kitchen appliances, Seakeeper. We have a lot running.
so. But you were averaging 13. How it translate to the fuel consumption? What do you think? Estimate. Of course, we cannot say precisely, but estimate.
It is actually, I can actually, because I checked the logs, it was around 4.5 liters per hour, which is again 1.2 gallons
Per hour,
per hour.
which is
It's
very low. It's very.
nothing, I mean.
It's the boat is
nothing.
economical.
Yeah, it is, and you're creating the comfort of a home on board. Yeah.
All right, the 1-year journey
Yeah.
for Papillon is completed. Back to the base. Fırat, it was quite a journey. I have to admit, I don't think any of our boats put so many miles in 1 year as yours.
Probably, yeah. And after 12,000 nautical miles, we're here in Kekova.
I think half of this you done in the last 3 months.
Yes, including the
Crossing,
start of the crossing. That's correct.
And then Mediterranean voyage with the owner, and then delivery from Cannes to.
That is correct.
Kekova.
With the owner, we did 1,400 nautical miles and 1,450 from Cannes to here. So yeah, and plus the crossing.
And plus the crossing. It's close to 7 because I think in Alicante we counted 4.2 thousand miles.
Yes.
4.2 plus, 7,000.
Plus change, yeah.
7,003 in 3 months.
Yes. Man. Quite the journey.
Yeah.
But luckily, Papillon is taking care of us.
When you're using the boat this hard, when you put so many miles, when you're crossing a big body of waters like the Atlantic Ocean, so we would like to understand, and I would like to understand how much fuel we spent, what is our expenses, how many times you change oil, how many times you did services, how many breakdowns did you have, how much it cost to you, did you fix it yourself or you call the service, or what happened in the last 7,000 miles, with the boat and with expenses related to your journey.
Okay.
That's the general thing we all would like to know.
We did quite a lot of services, given the nautical miles we put under Papillon, of course. The transmissions, the engines, the generators, the hydraulic systems, every system that you can think of around the boat has been maintained and serviced periodically. Not only according to the manual, I have to say, because I have a slightly different approach to these things. Manual says one thing, of course, you should follow that. But if you know, so to say, the language of the boat, you kind of feel the necessity to add some additional things. And maybe even if the manual doesn't say, you want to check that spot, you want to maybe take that piece apart and give
Check
it some love, so to say. So we actually on board Papillon have our own maintenance checklist and maintenance schedule list, which is derived from experience on board Papillon, not only the warranty necessities of the machinery. And when you do that, really, and of course, if the boat is as well built as Papillon, just takes you 12,000 nautical miles in 10 or so months without a major breakdown. There was one instance that I can now think of that we needed to call the service, which was due to a warranty issue on the side power unit, which was actually kind of that company's fault, because they wanted to upgrade a certain valve that they initially put on, and they weren't happy with it design-wise, so they needed to come themselves and take one certain valve apart and add 2 additional ones. Apart from that, really not that I can think of. And we didn't really have time to spend time on the dock to allow the service to approach us either.
Yes.
We were constantly on the move or at anchor, and just cruising.
Very little time in
the
marinas. Very little time.
Exactly, very little time. When we were not underway, we were at anchor.
I've heard you encountered one when you were with the owner on board. You encountered some loss of steering at one point.
That's true, which was one of those silly things, a very small electrical component gives up, and all of a sudden it just creates this chain reaction, and you have a problem in your hand. But again, you talk about this quite often, redundancy. So when it comes to steering, I have the main steering system, then I have a backup of the main steering system, and then I have a backup of that backup. So I have 3 layers of security, so to say. And when that incident occurred, it was during the passage from Palma to Sardinia, and we immediately took everything in safety conditions, radioed the surrounding vessels to let them know that this was our situation, and then we switched to the backup, and we tended the issue really, which took us half an hour, I want to say.
To fix it?
To fix it, yeah. I mean, most of the time you spend identifying the problem.
Right.
Once you identify the problem, fixing it is easy. And we have good methodologies on board when it comes to identifying problems, so it took us really not that much of a time to spot the issue and fix it. And we switched to the main steering after that, carried on.
Perfect. Great. How many scheduled oils changes and filter changes, like all this scheduled maintenance, how many times you've done?
Okay, so if we were to exemplify on the mains and the gensets, right, we have 2-3 types of scheduled maintenance on each. In the gensets we have the 250, then we have the 500, and then we have the 1000. With the 1000 especially, we take the extra mile and take apart certain elements that the manual doesn't really recommend. And we did 6 250, 3 500s, and 3,000 hour services. The most extensive one is obviously the 1,000 hour service, and we're talking about not only changing every filter, every belt, every anode, oil, whatever, but we're also talking about taking the pumps apart and servicing the components of the pumps, making sure that every element on the system is actually functioning properly. Then on the mains we did 2 1,000 hours, 1 1,500 hour. The next one is actually coming very soon. 2 250s and 2 500 hours. So we used a lot of filters, obviously, a lot of belts, a lot of impellers, a lot of anodes. But because we do these things on time and without really cutting any corners, all the machinery on board is quite happy. Still going as we speak.
I think when boat use hard like this, it's better for the boat than when the boat is staying and not used.
Yes, exactly. Oh, the worst thing that you can do to a boat is to just leave it on a dock somewhere and not use it. Because
this boat is happy. It's doing what it's meant to do, exactly. Built to do.
Exactly.
And since it has soul,
yes.
the soul is happy.
Yes, I hope so. Yeah. We are happy with it.
This harbor inside of the other harbor. So the only waves here is what you see.
Yeah.
I never seen more than, like in a strong winter wind, maybe 2 feet.
I'm thinking if I've ever seen such a geography before, like a bay, and then inside a bay there's another completely enclosed bay. Yeah. This is quite unique.
And imagine, and all the time, it's a natural. You can build a gigantic marina here. Imagine all of this could be a marina.
Yeah.
So it's incredible. And you can build a base here, like a clubhouse, restaurant, and then little bungalows, like with very kind of like into the nature.
Yeah.
It's all wood, or stone, or stone looking like. And you see the ruin there,
I
the
do.
tower.
Yeah.
It's all over here. It's all over here. But it's a big area, so you can have the area is 38,000 square meters.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, that's actually quite.
Yes, and you can put quite a bit of construction there.
Yeah.
It's so protected. If any winds here, it's all blowing from the south. Mm-hmm. Local winds, and no other weather formations. And again, even these winds, like in this corner, it's absolutely flat.
Yeah.
On the other side, yes, you can have a couple foot waves. It was 4 of you crossing. How was the schedule? How was the shifts? What was the...
So each crew has the correct certifications, but I did an extensive training with everyone, make sure that everyone knows how to hold watch. And I'd like to, for crossings as long as that one, I'd like to do 3-hour-long watches. So each crew member gets 3-hour-long, and then they get a 9-hour-long rest.
Yes.
This allows them 2 things. One, proper rest. 9 hours is a good amount of time. And 2, it gives them opportunity to socialize, which is incredibly important in crossings like that one. You don't really want people getting depressed, being stuck in their cabin, or basically up for hours when there are no other crew member around. So you want them to socialize, you want them to have some time for themselves as well. And 3-hour-long watches work perfectly in that regard. And they played games, we talked, cooked, eaten together, watched movies, thanks to Starlink. Yeah, it worked perfectly. 3-hour-long. And that's if I can. That's the way I go with watch in regards to watch, really. Yeah.
No, it's better than 6 after 12.
Oh yeah.
Because once we were going for 6 days, 3 people, 6 with 12 break. We didn't see each other.
Yeah.
We didn't see each other. I mean, you feel like you are alone on the boat all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's not good.
And it's hard to maintain the same level of focus throughout 6-hour-long watch.
Yeah.
But if you
especially
have 3 hours,
at night, early morning, you kind of feel
exactly.
ridiculous. You're exhausted. You're walking around the boat like this.
Exactly. In order not to
just not to sleep.
Pass out, sleep.
Yeah. Fırat, I was thinking, because very frequently I'm asked the questions like, should I ship the boat across the ocean, or should we go on its own bottom? And cost-wise, it's always pros and cons. Time-wise, it's about the same. Preparation of the boat for shipping, then unpacking and everything. You will spend a month regardless for the crossing. Yeah. So let's talk about cost of crossing itself. Let's forget the rest of 3,000 miles. Let's concentrate on the voyage from Miami to Lisbon. I would like to know how much fuel you spend, how much it cost. Then spares, provisioning, and agent's fee. I mean, it's probably going to be fuel the most, then spares the second.
Yeah.
So can you give us some figures?
Sure. Rough figures, of course. The price of fuel changes depending on the supplier and the date, needless to say. But in our case, we burned about 23,000 liters, right? Almost full tank.
Yes.
And that costed us, if we were speaking in terms of euro, around 34,000. 34,500-ish. Then there's, of course, the cost of spare parts. These are spare parts for scheduled maintenance and a couple extras that you might want to carry with you. Yeah. In our case, we already had plenty spare parts. So we, I think, spent all around 3,000 for the filters and other elements that we use for our scheduled maintenances, which we did 3 times, of course, even though we didn't need to. You don't really, you want to do it before each leg, just to be safe. There's provisioning, of course, a month's worth for a crew of 4. And that also includes some, renewals for our grab bags as well. And it costs around, I want to say 2,000. Yeah? And then the agency fees, of course, because in the places that you go, you use some agencies for customs and immigrations, for marinas and arrangement of bunkering, which also costed us not more than 2,000. So all in all, we're looking at, I think...
41.
Exactly, something like that, probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
So cost-wise, certainly.
And yeah, because salary of the crew still doesn't matter if you ship the boat or
Exactly.
It's same.
Yeah.
So we spent 41 when we shipped the boat over to US. I think it cost us around 140,000.
There you go. Wow.
So it's
That's-
$100,000 difference.
Yeah.
And yes, with some amortization machine in hours.
Yeah.
Roughly how many hours on the
We're
engine
talking
input?
about, actually, almost precisely 500.
500
Yeah.
hours.
That's it.
That's not for these engines,
Exactly.
which goes up to 30,000 hours.
And mind you, you're not registering 500 on each because
Yeah.
you switch
One.
in between.
Yeah.
But total steaming hours took us 500. So we're maybe putting 350 on each because there were times you run them both depending on the weather. Like the first leg, it was very stormy. We needed both engines running. So
Yeah.
it's safe to say that you put 350-ish on each engine, which is nothing really.
Nothing. Yeah, I guess crossing is preferred.
Yeah.
All right, we are in Kekova. It's a home place, it's a base. And we're going to shoot today for our live channel. And I'm going to show you the Kekova.
All right. I'm really excited.
See you on Bering Live.